Hi there, Mr. Holcomb here with another episode of The Math Behind the Modules. This is Lesson 7, Comparing Linear Functions and Graphs. So the Classwork Exploratory Challenge exercises 1 through 4 says for each of these exercises it will provide information about two functions. Use that information given to help you compare the two functions and answer questions about them. Okay, so Alan and Margot each drive from city A to city B. So if you have a city here, A, and a city B here, and it says it's a distance of 147 miles, so this road has a distance of 147 miles. Okay, so I'm just drawing a little diagram here. Here's B. They take the same route, so this is the way they're both going to go. Okay, and they drive at a constant speed. So they have their cruise control set, and away they go. Alan begins driving at 1:40 p.m. and arrives at City B at 4:15 p.m. So there's the first thing we're given. Alan time equals, or Alan's time equals, so 1:40 to 2:40 is an hour, and then to 3:40 is another hour, and then from 3:40 to 4:15 is 35 minutes. So his time is 2 hours, 2 hours, 35 minutes. Okay, so that's Alan. So his time is 2 hours, 35 minutes. If I put that into minutes, there's 60 minutes in an hour. 60 times 2 is 120. 120 plus 35 is 155 minutes. Okay, so that's Alan's time. It took him 155 minutes to go 147 miles. Margot's trip from city A to B can be described as this equation, y equals 64x. So this is Margot. Okay. Y is the distance traveled, so we know that's 147 miles. So 147 equals 64 miles per hour times some number of hours. X is the time in minutes spent traveling. Who gets to the city A and B fast, from A to B faster? So it took him 155 minutes. And to solve for time over here, I just have to divide by 64 on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to get my calculator, and I'm going to take 147 divided by 64. So 147 divided by 64 equals 2 hours and 0.29 minutes, or let's say 2.3 hours. Let's just round to 0.3. 2.3 hours. So my x is going to equal 2.3 hours. Well, 2 hours is 120 minutes. And 0.3 hours would be 6 times 0.3 or 18 minutes. So that's 18 minutes on top of that. So that's going to be a total of 138 minutes. So if it took her 138 minutes and it took Alan 155 minutes, who gets to the city faster? Margot. Okay, she did it in 17 minutes less time. Okay, so there we go. All right, number 2. Okay, so number 2 says you have recently begun researching phone bill plans. So phone company A charges a flat rate of $75 per month. A flat rate means that your bill will be $75 each and every month and with no additional costs. Unlimited texts and so forth, $75 a month. The billing plan for company B, phone company B, is a linear function of the number of texts that you send that month. That is, the total cost of the bill changes each month depending on how many texts you read or send. The table below represents some inputs and the corresponding outputs that the function assigns. So, input 50, output $50. Input 150, output 60, and so on and so on. At what number of texts would the bills from each phone company plan be the same? So I know that the cost in dollars has to equal 75 because this one never changes. So I know my answer is going to be here. So my answer is going to be between 200 and 500 texts. So I need to come up with a rate of text, a text rate. So if I look at this first one, 50 techs is $50, 150 techs is $60. That was an increase of 100 and an increase of $10. This is an increase of 50 and an increase of $5, and this is an increase. So there's a rate of change going on here. So in order to find our rate of change, that is the same as our slope. Our rate of change is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if this is my x's, or if these are my x's and these are my y's, and I'm going to find the rate of change between the first two, this is my y1 and this is my y2. So my y2 is 60 minus y1, which is 50, divided by x2, which is 150, divided by x1, minus x1, which is 50. So 60 minus 50 is 10. And 150 minus 50 is 100. And I cancel the zeros, and therefore my rate of change is 1 text over 10, 1 over 10. So that means for every text, it costs me, let me think about this a second. It's Y2. No, for every dollar, I can send 10 texts. So it's 10 texts per dollar. Okay, so there's my equation, and if I checked others, I would get the same thing. So I will check one more just to be sure. And now I'm going to check between these last two. So if I say slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, well, my y2 is 95. My y1 is 65, divided by my x2, which is 500, minus my x1, which is 200. So that is going to equal 95 minus 65 is 30, and 500 minus 200 is 300, and the zeros cancel, and 3 over 30 equals 1 over 10. So I got the same thing as here. So my equation for this linear equation is y equals 1/10 x. Okay, and my other equation is y equals 75. Because it's a constant. Okay, so the cost of your bill is y. The cost of my bill is always 75. Y equals 75. That would be, if I graphed it, that'd be a horizontal line at y equals 75. So now I know that if two y's equal this, or if two things equal the same, 1/10 x equals y, 75 equals y. Since they're both equal to y, they're equal to each other. So I'd say 1 over 10 x equals 75. And if I multiply both sides by 10 over 1, or just 10, these cancel, and I get x equals 750. Okay, so now that I've done that, remember what I said. My answer has to be between 200 and 500. And 750 is obviously not between 200 and 500. So this did not work. So if that doesn't work, don't just say, I didn't get it, I'm done. Keep in mind what we're talking about. Linear equations. Y equals mx plus b. We already know that, let me do it in blue. We already know that phone company A is 75 per month, so that's y equals $75. It never changes. That is correct. But we found our slope. Okay, so what we didn't find was our y-intercept, our b, which would be there would possibly be a flat rate plus the number of texts. So obviously if I have m equals 1/10, so that means for every 10 texts it charges me $1. 50 texts would only be $5. So this is my x, this is my y, and this is my slope. So if I substitute in my y for 50 over here, substitute in my y for 50 equals, this is this 50 here, my y, equals my slope m of 1/10 times x, which is also 50, plus b, then I get 50 equals 1/10 of 50 is 5 plus b. Now if I subtract 5 from both sides, I now get 45 equals b. So if 45 equals b, that's the flat rate of my plan. So company B is charging $45 a month plus 10 cents a text. So my equation is y equals 1/10 or 0.1 x plus 45. And my other equation is y equals 75. So if I set those two equal, then I would say 75 equals 0.1 x. I prefer fractions, so let me just stick with fractions. 1/10 x plus 45. I want to find out how many texts I can send that would cost me $75, so I subtract 45 from both sides. And when I subtract 45 from both sides, that leaves me with $35 it cost me to do text. And if I have 10 cents per text, or 1/10 of a dollar per text, and I multiply both sides by 10, then the x will equal 350 texts. And as you can see, 350 is between 200 and 500. Okay, so the company, it says at what number of texts would the bill from each plan be the same? And that would be when plan B, you had 350 texts. At what number of texts is the phone company A a better choice? Phone company A, remember, is the $75 a month. So phone company A is going to be a better choice if you use it for, if you send more than 350 texts. So at what number of texts is the phone company A a better choice? When you send, when X number of texts is more than, not equal, more than 350. So it says at what number, or 351 texts. At what number of texts is phone company B the better choice? So B is a better choice if the number of text X is less than, or is less than 350 texts, because then it's going to cost less than $75. Okay, example 3. The function that gives the volume of water Y that flows from a faucet A in gallons during X minutes is a linear function with the graph shown. So if I'm going to do faucet A in purple, I'm going to write Y equals mx plus B. Okay, and then it says faucet B, water flow can be described by this equation here. So faucet B is going to be Y equals 5/6 x. So this is B, and the other one was A. Okay, where Y is the volume of water and that flows from the faucet during X minutes. Assume the flow of water from each faucet is constant. That tells us it's linear. Which faucet has a faster rate or flow of water? Well, in this case, our rate or flow is our slope, if you will. That's our rate of change. So I already know that faucet B, for every 5 gallons, it's going to take 6 minutes. I'm going to write that. Okay, 5 gallons per 6 minutes. They gave us the equation, and since there's no B, plus 0 means that when the faucet's off, no water has flowed out. Okay, now we're going to have to find the equation of this line, find out what the rate of change is, or slope, in this equation is, and then compare. So I already know that it's at 0, 0 is 1 point. So there's 1 point, 0, comma 0. And I'm going to keep going until I find another integer value on this graph, and it occurs here at times 7 gallons 4. So if I remember right, and this looks like a division symbol, so let me move this A thing up a little bit higher. Okay, so if you remember, slope m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And if I call this x1 y1 and this one is x2 y2, then I get y2, which is 4, minus 0 over 7 minus 0, which equals 4 over 7. What does that mean? 4 gallons per 7 minutes. So 7 minutes goes by and 4 gallons comes out of faucet A. But faucet B, 1 minute shorter, 1 more gallon, so faucet B is flowing at a faster rate. So it says which faucet has a faster rate of flow, so you would say faucet B. Okay, faster rate of flow. 5 per 6 is more than 4 per 7. How long will it take each faucet to fill its tub? If the tub holds 50 gallons, and it says, how do you know? So what you want to do is, the volume is Y, so I'm going to substitute in 50 to each equation. So now I'm going to finish this equation here, so I have the equation Y equals 4 over 7x. And I have Y equals 5 over 6x. So if I do this over here, Y equals 4 over 7x, and I substitute in 50 equals 4 over 7x, and I multiply both sides by 7 over 4, then I get x equals 350 over 4, which is 175 over 2, which is 2 goes into 17 8 times, 2 goes into 15 7, 87 and a half. Okay, how long will it take? 87 and 1/2 minutes. Okay, because in 7 minutes it took 4 gallons. So now we're going to do it for the other equation. Y equals 5 6x. My Y is 50 gallons. My rate is 5 gallons per 6 minutes, and my time is what I'm trying to figure out. So I multiply both sides by 6 over 5, and multiply this side by 6 over 5. And the 6 cancels the 6, the 5 cancels the 5. I'm left with x equals. The 5 will make this 50, 10, and 6 times 10 is 60. So it will take faucet A 87 and a half minutes to fill the tub, and it will take faucet B 60 minutes to fill the tub. And it says, how do you know? Well, it's because I know my rate and I know my gallons, so I can find time. Now it says, suppose the tub being filled by faucet A already has 15 gallons of water in it, and the tub being filled by faucet B started empty. If now both faucets are turned on at the same time, which faucet will fill its tub fastest? So now we're doing the same thing as here, but we're adding 15 gallons to my faucet A formula. So now it is going to be Y, let me stay with the same color, Y equals 4/7, that's my rate, times time, but we're going to already have 15 gallons in the tub, so it's plus 15. My other equation is not going to change. Okay, so I'm going to substitute in 50 for my Y, and I get 4 over 7x plus 15, and then subtracting 15 from both sides, we need to solve for x. I get 4 over 7x equals 35. Multiply both sides by 7/4, and I get x equals, and 7 times 5 is 35, carry the 3, 7 times 3 is 21, plus 3 is 24 over 4, and I'm going to make this a fraction that I can understand. 4 goes into 24 6 times, 4 goes into 5 once, with a remainder of 1, so it's going to be 61 1/4 minutes to fill it from 15 gallons to 50. Okay, I'm going to save a little time for my video here, and I'm going to just look right here. This is my equation, x equals 60. So at y equals 5 6x, rather than doing that over again, this is still going to come out to be x equals 60 minutes or an hour. So faucet B is still going to finish first, even though 15 gallons were added to the tub before turning on both faucets. Okay, still finished 1 minute and a quarter, 1 minute and 15 seconds faster. Okay, I just was reviewing some of this with this paused, and I'm going to go back to lesson 2, and I need to apologize, I made a minor mistake. So rather than starting this video over, And if you watch all the way through, you'll see now 75 minus 45 is 30. And so therefore this is 300. So I need to change all these values to 300. Okay, so when you send less than 300 texts or 200 or more than 300 texts or 301 texts is the plan A. And plan B is a better choice if X is less than 300. Okay, so sorry about that mistake there. 75 minus 45 is 30 times 10 is 300. So when you send more than 300 text, plan A is better. When you send less than 300 text, plan B is better.
Okay, page 4 brings us to problem number 4, and it says, two people, Adam and Bianca, are competing to see who can save the most money in 1 month. Use the table and the graph below to determine who will save the most money at the end of the month. State how much money each person had at the start of the competition. Assume each is following a linear function and his or her saving habit. So Adam's graphed, Bianca's tabled. Okay, so in order to find the equation of these two lines, we need to find the slope and the y-intercept in a graph. So Adam, number of days 0, is starting at $3 right here. And then at day 1, he's got 6. Day 2, 9. So he has the points 0, 3, 1, 6, and 2, 9. In order to find the slope of a line, it's y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So in doing this with the 3, 0 and the 1, 6, I will find the slope between these two. It would be y2, 6, minus y1, 3, divided by x2, which is 1, minus x1, which is 0. So that is going to give us a slope of 6 minus 3, which is 3, and 1 minus 0, which is 1, and 3 divided by 1 is 3. If I did the same with this, 9 minus 6 is 3, 2 minus 1 is 1, 3 over 1 again, so the slope between those two. So he's got a rate of change in money of $3 per day. Okay, so now I want to do the same over here for Bianca. So she has the point 517 and 826. So I want to find the rate of change represented by m, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that is going to give me y2 26. So this is 0.1 and this is 0.2. So this is the y's and this is the x's. So y2 26 minus y1 17 divided by x2, which is 8, minus x1, which is 5. So that is going to give us 26 minus 17, which is 9, divided by 8 minus 5, which is 3. So that's going to also give us a rate of change of $3 per day. But I don't want to just stop there. This here was linear. We could see that it was a straight line, it never changed, and I did check the slope between the 2 points. So I need to continue with this and do the same for another point. So now I'm going to do the difference between point 2 and 3. So it's going to be m equals, so now my y2 is 38, my y1 is 26, divided by x2, which is 12, minus x1, which is 8. So that is going to give me 38 minus 26, which is 12, divided by 12 minus 8, which is 4. So that is going to equal 3 as well. And I'll check the last point here, and 62 is my y2, minus 38, divided by 20 minus 12. So that is going to give me 38 to 62, 48, 58 is 20, and then 4, so that's 24, and 20 minus 12 is 8. Well, 24 divided by 8 is also 3. Okay, so at the end of the month, now we answer the question, who will save the most money at the end of the month? Okay, so therefore, at the end of the month, Adam and Bianca both have saved the same amount of money. Okay, so if we come up with the equation, this would be y equals the slope plus the y-intercept. So there's the equation for Adam. Adam's equation for saving the money is 3x plus 3. Bianca's equation for saving money is y equals 3x, but I don't know where the 0 is, but I know the rate of change is $3 per day. Okay, so if she has $17 on day 5, she would have $14 on day 4, and subtract 3 is 11 on day 3, subtract 3 is 8 on day 2, and subtract 3 is 5 on day 1, and subtract 3, and that is 2 on day 0. So this will be plus 2. Okay, so let's say there's 30 days in the month. So x is the number of days. So Adam will have saved x equals 3 times 30 days plus 3. Y equals 30 times 3 is 90 plus 3. He will have $93, but he started with 3, so he will have saved $90. If I do the same for Bianca, y equals 30, y equals 3 times 30, let's put it in the right order, plus 2. Well, that will give me y equals 90 plus 2, which is 92, minus the $2 she had on the beginning of the month, and so she will have saved $90. So the question didn't ask who will have more money by the end of the month. Adam will, because he started with $1 more than her. He started with $3, saved $3 a day, and ended up with $93. She had $2, saved $3 a day, and ended up with $92. So they both saved $90. So they saved the same amount of money.